Most people do not think twice before reheating leftovers. We take a container from the refrigerator, place it in the microwave, press a button, and assume that once the food is hot, it is safe to eat. In many cases, that is true. Properly stored leftovers can be reheated and enjoyed safely. But certain foods require more care, especially when they have been left at room temperature too long, cooled too slowly, stored for several days, or reheated more than once. The real danger usually does not begin inside the microwave. It begins during the time between cooking and reheating. That is an important distinction, because there is a great deal of misleading information online about leftover food. Some people claim that reheating certain foods instantly turns them toxic or carcinogenic. That is not an accurate way to understand food safety. Rice does not suddenly become poisonous because it is warmed again. Chicken does not become dangerous simply because it is reheated. Spinach does not automatically turn into a cancer-causing food, and eggs do not become toxic after one careful reheating. The greater concern is how these foods were handled before they reached your plate. This matters for everyone, but it is particularly important for older adults. As we age, the immune system may become less effective at responding to harmful bacteria. The body may also recover more slowly from dehydration, vomiting, diarrhea, or loss of appetite. A mild foodborne illness in a younger person can sometimes become much more serious after the age of 60. That is why small kitchen habits can make such a meaningful difference. Today, I want to talk about 4 foods that people commonly reheat: rice, chicken, leafy green vegetables, and eggs. These are not foods you need to avoid. In fact, all 4 can be part of a nutritious diet. The goal is to understand how to cool them, store them, and reheat them safely. Let us begin with rice. Rice is one of the most widely eaten foods in the world. It is inexpensive, easy to prepare, and often cooked in large quantities so that it can be used for several meals. The concern with leftover rice is not the reheating itself. The concern is a bacterium known as Bacillus cereus. The spores of this bacterium can sometimes be present in uncooked rice. Some of those spores may survive the cooking process. Freshly cooked rice is usually not the problem. The risk increases when cooked rice is left sitting at room temperature for too long. As the rice cools slowly, the surviving spores may begin to grow. Certain strains can produce toxins, and some of those toxins may remain even after the rice is heated again. This is why reheating rice until it is steaming hot does not erase every mistake that may have happened during storage. The safest approach is to cool rice quickly after cooking. Do not leave a large pot of rice sitting on the counter for several hours. Transfer the rice into smaller, shallow containers. This allows the heat to escape more quickly and helps the rice reach a safe refrigeration temperature sooner. Place it in the refrigerator promptly. As a general rule, perishable foods should not remain at room temperature for more than about 2 hours. In a very warm kitchen or during hot weather, the safe window may be even shorter. When you are ready to eat the rice, remove only the portion you plan to use. Reheat it until it is steaming hot throughout. If you use a microwave, stir the rice during reheating. Microwaves do not always heat food evenly. One section may be extremely hot while another remains cool. After heating, allow the rice to rest for a short time so the temperature can spread more evenly through the portion. Try not to reheat the same rice repeatedly. Taking one large container out of the refrigerator, warming it, cooling it again, and returning it to the refrigerator creates unnecessary temperature changes. A better habit is to store rice in individual portions. That way, you only warm what you intend to eat. The simple rule for rice is this: cool it quickly, refrigerate it promptly, reheat it thoroughly, and do not repeatedly warm the same portion. The second food is chicken. Chicken is an excellent source of protein and is especially valuable for older adults who are trying to maintain muscle strength. Many people cook several chicken breasts at once and store them for meals throughout the week. That can be practical, but the chicken must be handled correctly. Once cooked chicken has been served, it should not remain at room temperature for several hours. Refrigerate the leftovers as soon as the meal is finished. Large pieces of chicken can cool slowly in the center, so dividing them into smaller portions can help. When reheating chicken, the most important issue is even heating. A thick piece may feel hot on the outside but remain cool in the middle. This is particularly common when using a microwave. Cutting the chicken into smaller pieces before reheating allows the heat to reach the center more effectively. Arrange the pieces evenly and turn or stir them halfway through the heating process. For most cooked leftovers, the center should reach approximately 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 degrees Celsius. A food thermometer is one of the simplest tools you can keep in your kitchen. It removes the guesswork and can be especially useful for anyone over 60, anyone recovering from an illness, or anyone with a weakened immune system. There is another point worth understanding. Some people hear that reheating meat creates harmful compounds and conclude that all reheated chicken is dangerous. That is not true. The greater concern comes from repeatedly exposing meat to very high temperatures until it becomes heavily browned, charred, or burnt. When chicken is reheated gently and only until it reaches a safe internal temperature, that is very different from frying or grilling it until the surface is blackened. Avoid overheating the chicken to the point that it becomes hard, dry, or scorched. The goal is to make it safely hot, not to cook it all over again. If the chicken has an unusual odor, a sticky or slimy surface, or a color that seems wrong, do not taste it to check whether it is safe. Tasting questionable food is not a reliable safety test. If you are unsure how long the chicken has been stored, it is better to discard it. The third category is leafy green vegetables. This includes foods such as spinach, Swiss chard, beet greens, kale, and other cooked greens. These vegetables are highly nutritious. They provide fiber, folate, potassium, vitamin K, magnesium, and a wide range of protective plant compounds. You should not be afraid of eating them. There are claims online that reheating spinach automatically creates dangerous cancer-causing chemicals. That statement is far too simplistic. Leafy vegetables naturally contain nitrate. Nitrate is not automatically harmful. In fact, nitrate from vegetables may support healthy blood vessel function and normal circulation. The concern develops when cooked vegetables are stored poorly. During long or improper storage, bacteria can convert some nitrate into nitrite. The amount depends on how long the vegetables were stored, the temperature of the refrigerator, how quickly they were cooled, and how cleanly they were handled. The practical lesson is not that spinach can never be reheated. The lesson is that cooked vegetables should be cooled and refrigerated promptly. Just like rice and chicken, do not leave a pot of cooked spinach sitting on the stove for the rest of the evening. Transfer the vegetables into a clean container and place them in the refrigerator while they are still within the safe storage window. When you reheat them, warm only the portion you intend to eat. Heat them thoroughly, but do not repeatedly heat and cool the same batch. Cooked greens may also be eaten cold if they have been stored safely. They can be added to salads, sandwiches, soups, or other dishes. Pay attention to their condition. If the vegetables have become slimy, sour-smelling, or unusually discolored, they should be discarded. The same principle applies here. The food does not suddenly become dangerous because it touches heat a second time. The greater problem is poor storage and excessive time at unsafe temperatures. The fourth food is eggs. Eggs are one of the most useful foods for older adults. They provide high-quality protein, choline, vitamin B12, selenium, and nutrients that support the eyes and nervous system. Cooked eggs can be stored and reheated, but they are perishable and need to be treated carefully. Scrambled eggs, omelets, egg casseroles, and boiled eggs should be refrigerated promptly after cooking. Do not leave them sitting on the breakfast table for half the day and assume that reheating will make them safe again. When reheating scrambled eggs or an omelet, use moderate heat. The food should become hot throughout without becoming dry and rubbery. If you use a microwave, heat the eggs in short intervals and stir them between each interval. This helps eliminate cold spots. Hard-boiled eggs can often be eaten cold after proper refrigeration. Keeping the shell on until you are ready to eat them may help protect the egg from contamination and drying. There is one important microwave warning. Never place a whole hard-boiled egg in its shell inside a microwave. Pressure can build inside the egg and cause it to burst. In some cases, it may burst after being removed, creating a risk of burns. Egg dishes that contain meat, cheese, cream, or vegetables should be treated as complete perishable meals. They may spoil more quickly because of the combination of ingredients. Again, the concern is not that one careful reheating creates a toxic food. The concern is leaving eggs warm for too long, storing them incorrectly, or heating them unevenly. Now let us bring all of this together. The safest way to manage leftovers is not complicated. Refrigerate perishable food promptly after the meal. Do not allow it to sit at room temperature for several hours. Use clean, shallow containers. Food cools more quickly in a shallow container than in a deep pot. Keep your refrigerator at or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which is approximately 4 degrees Celsius. Store food in smaller portions whenever possible. This allows you to reheat only what you plan to eat. When reheating leftovers, make sure they are hot throughout. For most leftovers, a temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 degrees Celsius is a useful safety target. Stir food during microwave reheating and allow it to rest briefly afterward. Avoid repeatedly warming and cooling the same container. Do not depend entirely on smell or appearance. Some harmful bacteria do not produce an obvious odor, and when you genuinely do not know how long a food has been stored or how long it was left outside the refrigerator, do not take an unnecessary chance. Food safety is not about being afraid of leftovers. It is about understanding time and temperature. Rice, chicken, leafy greens, and eggs can all be eaten safely after cooking when they are cooled quickly, refrigerated correctly, and reheated thoroughly. The most common mistakes are leaving food out too long, cooling it too slowly, keeping it for an uncertain amount of time, heating it unevenly, and reheating the same portion repeatedly. For older adults, avoiding these mistakes can reduce the risk of food poisoning, dehydration, weakness, and serious complications. A healthy meal does not end when the cooking is finished. Safe handling continues until the final portion has been eaten. So the next time you place leftovers in the refrigerator, take a moment to ask yourself 3 simple questions. How long has this food been sitting out? Was it cooled and stored properly? Am I reheating only the amount I plan to eat? Those 3 questions can protect your health far more effectively than any dramatic claim about a food becoming toxic overnight. Healthy eating is not only about choosing nutritious foods. It is also about treating those foods safely after they have been cooked. This information is intended for general education. Anyone with a weakened immune system, a serious medical condition, or special dietary needs should speak with a physician or registered dietitian for personal guidance.